I love businesses, right? And I love business owners and the risks they take, and we just got to help them, right? So they can achieve the American dream.
Welcome to P&L, Priorities and Lifestyle, with your host, Rob Schultz. Rob is the founder and president of Schultz Wealth. All opinions expressed by Rob and his guests are solely their own opinions and do not reflect the opinion of Schultz Wealth Limited. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon for investment decisions. Please refer to our website for more information.
Welcome everybody to P&L, Priorities and Lifestyle. I'm your host, Rob Schultz, coming at you from Las Colinas, Texas. Hot, finally got hot.
Yeah, finally did.
I have my good friend Steve Conwell here with me. Steve, welcome.
Great to have me, man. I appreciate it.
It is great to have you. It's great to have me too. It's great to have both of us.
Yeah, in the AC.
Yeah,
sure.
I know. I'm excited to have a discussion with you. We're gonna dig deep into business owner psychology, maybe a little bit of buy sell and transaction stuff, because that's what you do. I mean, other than like raising kids, and of course, you're kind of done with that now too, aren't you? Sort of, kind of. Your kids are out of college, is that right?
Yeah. We're empty nesters for like 0.5. We've got one that he wants to be a fireman, which we're excited about. He graduated from college and wants to go down that path. So we probably got another year of him living with us while he pays for that and gets that squared away. But our other daughter's, she'll be 27 in November, which is crazy. But she's a teacher and she does Title I, low income schools and kindergarten, and it's amazing. So
where is she? Is she local or is she somewhere else?
No, she's in Austin.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, kind of downtown. And, God love her, man. I think of her 19 kindergarten students, 18 were Child Protective Services kids.
Oh, wow.
I mean, it's just, tough. But she's
been doing it for how many years now?
This is her, I think, going on her fourth.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
So because so many teachers, I think, that start out that way, and just that first year's got to be brutal. But then you get, she's learned how to do it now, so it's her thing. That's cool.
Yeah, God love her, man. Her first year, they moved her to second grade 2 hours before parent-teacher conferences started. Oh, you're going to do second now. And of those students, they had one that tested schizophrenia. Another was tested as they believe, a true sociopath. Two that were considered like violent and aggressive, like crazy. She would have to clear the room where they were throwing chairs and punching and kicking. But we've always said she was been born with the manager gene. I mean, she was our kid that with her little brother would go, put that over there. Say it again. Please put that over there. Say it again. Bryce, would you please pick that up for me and put that over there?
Oh, nice.
Teaching her how to, because she was bossy when she was younger, but she learned all the 1-minute manager stuff and was able to get those kids in line. And then, just has what she says is you want them to be productive little humans.
Yeah, right.
And good little humans, and they have to learn it. So, I just hats off to her, right? I mean, it's tough in those environments, but it's kind of on her heart, and she loves it. You know,
that's so cool. We need that so bad.
Yeah,
Steve, you are CEO and partner at Final Ascent, which is a really cool name for a company, by the way.
Thanks. Yeah, it's a mountain climbing term that we just got lucky to get the domain.
I like
right?
it. That's good stuff. Y'all founded in 2017. Specialize in mid-market M&A and exit consulting. So you're right there in there. Just in case people watching this is what they're interested in. These are mid-size, I like to say closely held business owners that are trying to figure this stuff out. So really great. Appreciate you being on. What do you call mid-market anyway? Let's say from a valuation standpoint, kind of where are you seeing most of your deal flow?
Yeah, from a valuation perspective, the absolute smallest end would be that 5 to 10 million.
Yeah, okay.
And for us, we have to kind of decide, really for the owner, does it make sense to go to market? Because those are tweeners, right? Lifestyle folks can't necessarily buy them. Private equity guys are going to dip down to that market, but we'll have a few that are coming that way. For us, deal values anywhere from 10 to 100 million.
Okay.
We did have one deal that we almost won it, but it was valued at almost 400 million.
Yeah.
And we just got beat out by a public gigantic
Sure.
company, and the
Sure.
trustee just said, "Hey, we just need somebody big." But that's our sweet spot, that $10 to $100 million value.
Okay. All right. Yeah, that sounds good. Other stuff on here. Let's see here. You came kind of out of the, well, first of all, accounting degree, right?
Yeah, I got the whole BS, MS in
Yeah, you
accounting
got the
back
whole
in the day.
accounting thing. University of North Texas guy. You're on the board out there. I think last time we talked, you'd had a board meeting, so you're very involved with University of North Texas.
Yep.
Let's see what else. Kind of was in the home real estate business there for a while with your first business. What was that about? Let's see.
No, for the first business that we started was back in 2002.
Okay.
We called it Enterprise Controls Consulting, right by ECC, but we were a national information technology risk and controls consulting firm that also did finance, accounting, and technology recruiting.
Oh, wow.
We did, executive placement to direct placement, contract to hire. But then we ran consulting engagements when the whole Sarbanes-Oxley wave hit with Enron crashing and WorldCom and Tyco. We came out and said, we got to get a handle on risk and controls. Those were the big projects that we would run. So we would do them for the Fortune 2000, and then we were national vendors for 7 of the top 10 firms and global vendors, working with them on projects like this. And we built it to about 90 professionals, and we sold it, a long time ago, in 2008. Okay. So that was to the number 9 public accounting firm, and we opened their South presence for them. But what's interesting, so kind of you fast forward, what you were talking about there, I was the CFO for a residential real estate firm, brought in to get ready for a sale. And we had this exit planning advisor that was kind of helping. And I started looking into this. This is back in, 2015, 2016 timeframe. And I'm like, this is interesting. And as I kind of started doing more research, I realized the way we sold our company, having one buyer and going through the whole cycle with a very sophisticated deal team, we did it all wrong.
Yeah.
And we were highly systematized. I mean, process, technology, we leveraged automation, tremendous on our back office. So we had things going for us that you would want to have to kind of have a marketable, valuable business, but no idea of what I do now.
Right.
And we would have done this sale completely different. We'd have gone to market. We'd have created a whole deal process and multiple buyers competing and gone down that path. And that's when I got the idea back in the day in 2017, start Final Ascent, because I love businesses, right? And I love business owners and the risks they take. And I said, we got to help because they don't know. Because if I didn't know, considering the fact that Ernst & Young, where I worked, had, a massive transaction advisory services group, there's got to be a whole lot of other people that don't either, and we just got to help them, right? So they can achieve the American dream.
Well, yeah, I like that because, especially if you're a founder owner and you've built up this business to a certain level, and now you're going to obviously sell it to somebody, and 9 times out of 10, somebody that's wrapping up. They're much larger, much more sophisticated than you.
Yep.
Sophisticated not in what you do for a living, but sophisticated in transactions.
Right.
And so it's almost like, and I agree with you, it's almost like you're kind of set up to fail there in a lot of cases just because, you're outgunned on the transaction.
Yeah.
But there's really are, 2 sides to this coin, or 2 ways that business owners go on this. I mean, there are a ton of them out there that say, no, I know who I want to sell to.
Right.
I know how I want to do this, and these are the reasons and so forth, and this is how I'm going to do it. A lot of times it comes down to cost. Okay. They get concerned about the costs associated with the transaction, which they should, because they're expensive.
Yep.
But what do you have to say to that? Because that's something that always comes up, and I'm always looking for ammo to help them understand, that it's worth it to be able to have professionals on your side of the table.
Yeah, absolutely. Something I'm going to say that I say this quite a bit is that having strong advisors, like yourself, early in the process is super important. Because most buyers, not buyers, but sellers, they're entrepreneurs at heart, right? So they wear a bunch of hats. But what they haven't done is they haven't changed their perspective and thought like a seller and looked at their business the way buyers look at it, like from the buyer's lens, to really understand. So they may think, hey, my company's really valuable, but they don't quite understand how valuations work. They've never gotten one. They don't know really what they are worth to a buyer, right? The check they're going to write for the business. And then secondly, they may have a lot of things they could showcase to create value that they do well, but they don't understand there's like ticking time bombs sitting in their business that are actually either preventing them from selling or discounting their business significantly. And so by having advisors early to start looking at it, to say, hey, here's what you do well, we're going to showcase, here's opportunities for improvements to help maximize that enterprise value. You start increasing your net profits, you can increase your multiples. And when it's all said and done, like they'll say, hey, it's expensive. Yeah, but you just got, $8 more million that you wouldn't have gotten had you tried to do this yourself. And if you've done it yourself and you know this, these are deal makers. I mean, Harvard MBAs, this is all they do. They may be looking at 200 companies and they're going to go through and you're going to think you got a good deal, but they've just worked it down because, well, this attorney said this, or my, analyst said this, and they just start whittling it away. And you won't know because this isn't what you do for a living. You built your company. You're experts in this product or this service. You are not deal experts. And so by having those folks in your corner, you can help to make the right decision.
So give me some examples of some things that you'll see a lot of times in a business, or that you've seen in a business, where you go, hey, you know what? Let's just change this one little thing, and this will increase your value. Give me a couple of examples that maybe people can look at.
Yeah, so there's some basic blocking and tackling that people don't realize has a huge impact. So we all hear about accrual-based financial statements, right? Accrual-based accounting records. So they're accurate, complete, timely, and produce financial statements that can be comparable across industry, across same company size. I can't tell you how important that is because it's the resume of your business. So like you wouldn't apply for this job on LinkedIn, right? Where based on that job description, you are the absolute most perfect guy for the job. You are. Like you are literally their number one candidate. They don't know that yet. You wouldn't submit your resume with grammatical errors and typos and timing was off on your jobs, right? I mean, recruiter's going to look at it and 15 seconds later it's in the trash.
Yeah, they're going to throw it. Yeah.
But they just threw away actually the best person. So I can't tell you how many times I would argue almost 95% of the time, looking at the financial statements we do, there's cleanup and things that have to happen. Even bigger companies, and they have a CFO, and we'll look at it. I mean, we have to rebuild the financials. We have to get them squared away, cash to accrual conversion, fix things, get it operating effectively, put in a month-end close, which people hear about, right? Reconcile stuff and be able to showcase your financial performance. Because as soon as you show your financials to folks that have, 50, financial planning and analyst guys working for them, they're going to throw it in their model and go, it's a mess. And what are they going to do? They're going to say, well, we like the company. Financials, we know, are messy. They're going to ride on ours anyway, but we're going to discount it 30%.
Yeah.
Because we don't quite know if it's in reality based on what we're seeing, so we'll just discount it.
And that's one of those things you do have to start early on.
You have to start early on.
Yeah. Because the longer trend that you have of these quality financial statements, the better picture you can show. And I know you're right. I almost can't relate because I kind of come from an accounting background like you do, and that's always just seemed like fun and easy in my business. To do all that. I mean, I get giddy thinking about, working through my chart of accounts and stuff and things like that. But what you're saying is most business owners don't feel that way. They're more entrepreneurial. They have other areas where they're really, really strong. And if this is a weakness, this is one of the things that can really bring you down when you get ready to exit.
Yeah. And typically buyers are going to do like a 3-year look back.
Right.
They want to see the financials then. So if you're going to do cleanup, you got to go back, right?
Yeah.
And so, all right, well, we're going to have to restate some tax returns because of that, potentially.
Man. Yeah.
That opens up a can of worms, right? And if you have to sell now, we don't have time. Time is your friend. It's just like time value money for what you do, right? The eighth wonder of the world. Time is your friend on getting your business prepared for sale, but also getting it into a financial performance like model that allows it to attract the right buyers, right? Because these are sophisticated guys. They've grown and built and scaled companies, so they don't want to buy the fixer-upper. It's not like real estate where that horrible house on the corner that I can go get for 40 cents on the dollar and I can go rehab it and resell it and make money. In the real world, they're hunting for those diamonds in the rough that are really valuable, that they can say, I can take this, bolt on 10 other businesses to that and go sell it for 15 times what I paid for.
One of my good friends, really good investment banker, Brad Purifoy, says it all the time. He's like, look, just reduce risk.
Yep.
Your buyer is looking to be as risk-free as they possibly can be.
Yeah, that's such a great point. What people don't realize is there's a cost to buy a company. Because if they get their attorneys in the game and their outside counsel looking at it and their financial folks, it costs money. It may cost some $200,000-300,000 to buy a company. Well, if they're looking at a couple hundred of them, they want to get to a no as fast as possible.
Mm-hmm.
So like the image is that you're putting your best foot forward. And so think about an iceberg. And so you're showcasing, we've got this virtual data room with all these documents and we have this presentation that shows how great we are. The buyers are saying that you're showing me what's on the top of the surface, right? They're worried about that 90% below the water. What are you not telling me? Where are the skeletons in the closet that maybe you're hiding or you haven't communicated with? Where's the ticking time bomb? Are there like contingent liabilities that I don't see anywhere, some lawsuit looming somewhere? Or I've got, a big customer concentration problem and I don't have auto-renewed contracts squared away with that, and that's 40% of my revenue. And if they go away, I can't be the big bad buyer and go fire almost half the company. So because of that, by reducing risk and eliminating the fear the buyer is going to have, because they're going to be not emotional like the seller is. It's my company, man. It's my baby. They're very logical, and they want to get to a no quickly. And if the financials are a mess, they'll be polite and they're out.
Hey, what about this, Steve? So, you're the mid-market that dips down, like you said, kind of into some lifestyle type businesses.
Yeah.
Lifestyle businesses, single owner, for instance.
Yep.
They're running a lot of personal stuff through the business.
Right.
Thoughts on that?
Yeah. So, obviously we're going to see some of the normal stuff, right? They'll have their personal car on there, but they use it for business. They'll have their health insurance. They're going to have vacations that will flow through there. It's when all of that, I don't want to get into like valuation techniques and all this kind of stuff, but what's going to happen is we're going to take the financials and we're going to recast them as if the buyer already owned the company. Mm-hmm. So you're not going to have all those personal expenses on there.
And as long as they're clear and well-defined and easy for people to see and pull out of
it's got support, so you can prove that, you don't have like, hey, I just built my second home, running it through fixed assets.
Right.
These things. We did have a situation one time. There was a lot of this type of stuff. It was a ton. We were evaluating, is it like too much? And so 3 years and it's thousands of dollars, right? But the straw that broke the camel's back was wife and sister. They had 2 cosmetic surgeries, right? Went down to Mexico. It was like $40,000. And what they did is they put them on the balance sheet as fixed assets and depreciated them over like 7 years.
It's like, no.
And so I'm like, we're out, because what else are you hiding in here? Ultimately, you'd want to separate business and personal. That's the best thing.
I think you do. I'd say that at one point, especially, I'm not 100% owner anymore. My Austin, he's coming in, and I think I just run less and less through my business. Probably the more, my junior partner shares come up, and the larger my business gets. And I think maybe that's a good rule, kind of sit there and just see where you are. Mm-hmm. As you get larger, you need to think about, hey, go ahead and pay for that stuff yourself. You can afford it. Come on, man.
Yep.
And at the same time, you're cleaning things up and you're running it more as a business. It's easier when you get that stuff out to also compare yourself, on ratios and things like that, to make sure that, you're benchmarked against others in your industry.
Yep.
It just makes life so much easier. That's kind of where I've headed personally, for sure. And
and you get to a certain size, you get into that sometimes as small as 10 million, right? But you get to that 15 to 20 million, get a financial statement audit.
Oh yeah.
Because obviously your books are going to be, according to generally accepted accounting principles, you get a clean, unqualified audit opinion. But the other thing, though, is you're going to get these recommendations, because obviously these audit firms are going to work with much larger companies, much more sophisticated companies. And so tightening up the business controls so that you are operating more effectively, reducing fraud risks, potential errors and irregularities, and can trust those financials more. And then there's a saying that the quality of your strategic partners that you work with also carries weight. So if you got an audit from, let's say, like a really strong regional firm, or you're a $40-50 million company, you get it from a top 10, that's going to carry weight on the buyer side. They trust things like that. When you go to finally get to a sale and you get into things, I don't want to bog this stuff down, but you got a financial statement audit, but then on the recent earnings, you have a quality of earnings report done.
Right.
There are buyers, we're just going to wait for that. And we had one buyer, and they had Ernst & Young that they were on their side was going to do the quality of earnings report. And we had worked with, I think it was Doreen Mayhew, who did a great job, and they did not do their quality of earnings as we told them. We want this to be a accurate quality of earnings, not a favorite to us.
Yeah.
We literally were able to defend every single point that Ernst & Young brought up because it was defendable. And so the earnings got established at that stage, and then able to sell the company, which was really nice.
Oh man.
So, all that kind of stuff, it helps. An audit is a pain. They're going to do 3 years when they start.
Yeah.
But it helps you kind of start to figure out the complexities of due diligence and the amount of work they're going to do when you sell. And it gets you operating this company in a way that because you're storing the right documentation, you're able to defend all of your transactions, and that's a good thing downstream. It's a hassle, but it is definitely going to be worth its weight in gold later.
And none of this stuff is easy.
No.
Tell us in this mid market, in this where you're working.
Yep.
What do the buyers look like right now? Have they changed in the last couple of years since interest rates have come up? What are you seeing as far as the market for these businesses to be able to sell into right now?
Yeah, I would argue that like the tire kickers or the folks that really didn't have any of the investment capital to do a deal, so like some of the less sophisticated independent sponsors, they went away.
Okay.
Because they just couldn't do a deal.
By an independent sponsor, you mean somebody who maybe comes in on a deal and then markets it to somebody else? Is that what that is?
What they do, so they'll come in and they'll say, hey, I've got a network of investors.
Right. Yeah.
As opposed to I have a $250 million fund already, and we're going to pay cash for this business, as opposed to the independent sponsor who may be able to get the deal over the finish line, maybe.
Yeah, you kind of want to flesh those guys out a little bit. Right?
Yeah, we flush them out in advance. My business partner kind of manages that. He says, I'm a buyer bouncer. One day, we're like, what are you talking about? He goes, nobody gets passed unless they can do the deal.
Yeah, nice.
Because time is money and time can kill deals. And if you've got the wrong buyers in the mix, suddenly you get 6 months in and it goes away.
So those guys have kind of gone away in the market a little bit?
They're still there, but the reality is, a lot of them we saw go away because they couldn't get it over the finish line. Yeah, that was good. There was definitely Q3, Q4 last year, the whole market, like the debt market and the banks and the investment market and the deal makers all trying to figure out, how do I get this deal over the finish line? Because in the past, before these high interest rates, it'd be like 75% debt, maybe 15% of investment capital they had to put in, and maybe they did like a 10% seller financing note or something like that. All of a sudden it shifted to 50% debt. because we have all these deposit requirements now, these regulations that came down. And so, all right, well, now we can't just do 15%. We're going to put 40% of our own money in, or maybe we try to increase the seller note to reduce that. And it just became really tough trying to figure out how to get deals over the finish line. When they figured it out now, it took a bit, but they figured it out now. But to combat that and to say, okay, well, maybe we can get more debt to work, and we'll look at this business owner and say, well, your multiple was this, in this market, it's really
not so
that.
much. Yeah.
And then the sellers are like, well, I mean, honestly, screw that. I'm not going to take this $8 million cut for your health just because interest rates rose and magically you can't. So I'm going to hold on to the business longer.
But you could argue that, I mean, that's the value of the business in that
Right.
environment, right?
That's what the buyers say, but that's the value.
That's what I would say too.
Yeah.
Though. I mean, seriously, you know, the value of the business is what somebody's willing to pay for it.
Write a
What
check
somebody's
for 'em.
willing to pay for it has a lot to do with where interest rates are.
It is. And so a lot of sellers said, all right, well, I'll just hold on a little bit longer. Let's get through the election at this
That's
stage.
what they're saying.
Yeah.
So it's been a little bit slower this year too.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, it's been, I mean, quality companies you had mentioned earlier, like that are, best in their class, right?
Yeah.
They're rising stars. They will sell in good and bad markets, and people chomp at the bit to get them. But if you're kind of more of an average business, timing does matter at times, right?
Yeah.
COVID was that unicorn event. The market now, if you can hold on longer, but in some industries in this environment, they do incredibly well, right? In other industries, not so much. And so that's where some of that timing does matter.
It's interesting you say that, because I don't know if this is true or not, but this is what I see.
Yeah.
And I do feel this is true, is that we kind of went through a little bit of a correction recession, but it was like industry by industry.
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't really feel it. And I feel like we're almost still going through that, because I meet and see people in certain industries, certain companies are just killing it.
Yep.
And then others that are getting killed. I mean, it's weird how, not everybody is rising and not everybody's going down at this. Have you noticed that?
Well, so here's kind of what I see in the market in that type of situation. So you have a company that their cash flow is great, right?
Yeah.
So they have cash coming in like much faster than it going out. And in great economies, the opposite situation, companies can survive. So these powerhouses that are really good at what they do, when you get into an environment like this where pricing is a lot more expensive, you're in inflationary times, what these great companies do is they take more market share away from companies that aren't necessarily in a position, like they're not cash rich. They can't ride the wave. And so that's where you start to see things.
So
like
it really
that.
is. So it's not really industry per se, but you really think it's more like these really quality companies, they're able to come up while everybody else goes down. So it's kind of a shift. It's a have and have nots kind of thing almost.
Or just, I mean, even in the middle market, right? I mean, the ones that are really good at what they do and have figured that out, have figured their cash flow out, understand what their working capital looks like, they're able to say, I can lower prices here, right?
Yeah.
I can renegotiate my supply chain so I can still maintain my margins while doing that, to take more from my competition, where these other companies, their margins are bleeding.
Yeah.
They can't really raise prices. They can't renegotiate their contracts because to their suppliers, they have a great agreement. I'm not going to renegotiate. And so that's where you start to see this movement and that shift that way. And then I would argue like the bottom 5 to 10% that are really suffering, you'll see them go away.
They are going away.
Yeah, and then people will buy them. Some people like to buy distressed assets, if you will, or they'll buy them at a discount, and just depending on timing of when that owner, maybe they have to sell, and they'll just do it that way.
And of course, interest rates have had something to do with that as well.
Yep.
Because obviously, if you're using leverage within your business at too high of a level, and it gets at too high of a rate, you can't survive. It's that cash flow that you just mentioned.
I had a friend of mine that worked for Microsoft, and he was like a VP, and we were chatting. He says, man, it's incredible. This was probably 20 years ago. He goes, we would sit down and have meetings to what to do with our $25 billion in cash. Like, what do we do with it? $25 billion.
We're laughing, but I mean, it's it's a huge issue on that side of things.
Yep.
I mean, whereas, trying to figure out how to make your debt payments on one end, and if you've got that really good cash flow, it starts becoming a problem. Like, how do I deploy this properly?
Yep. How do you deploy it? Do you have too much?
Yeah.
I think a lot of business owners, they intuitively understand like their profit and loss. They don't understand their balance sheet and how these work together.
No, they don't. Yeah.
And
Most don't.
Yeah, looking at like, the current ratio, current assets divided by current liabilities, looking at working capital, current assets minus current liabilities, your debt to equity ratios. Is your company bankable?
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
How do banks look at your company for financing that you need or don't need, as an example? And so you don't need to be a CFO, but you need to get enough financial education to be able to make the right business decisions for your company, because those buyers are going to look at it. They're also going to want to see, is this company bankable or not? So they'll evaluate it and go, I mean, great company, but we can't get the financing to get the deal through the cycle because our analysts are saying, nope, it's not sellable. We if we buy it, we won't get the deal through the finish line.
What are all these shareholder loans? Stuff like that.
Yeah. Due to what is this? Last 3 years, the number hasn't changed. And the poorer sellers don't realize that they're not going to buy that. You're just going to eat it.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and that's what gets really tough. So the balance sheet always gets squirrely when we look at it. There's all these weird things we see on there, and note receivable this and due to from and what's that and how did this get squared away and who owes what. And when you get into the selling process, I mean, the buyers are just going to go, nah, we're going to just give you this, we're not dealing with all that. And then if you don't get that cleaned up before, as much as you can to make your financials simpler and easier to get through a deal, they'll just walk away. I mean, they'll just walk away. The good buyers will be like, we got a bunch of other companies we're looking at.
Well, let's say that they don't walk away, and as a business owner, you find yourself, in a transaction. So you've got an LOI, and let's talk a little bit just about let's talk about mental health.
Oh my gosh!
That is a brutal period of time. I don't care who you are. I don't care about how smooth the transaction is. Your emotions are going to go through the roof.
Yeah,
it's how do you help your clients through all that?
It's kind of like you're sitting on Instagram or Facebook, and you get those ones that show up if somebody's filming the roller coaster.
Yeah,
and here's their friend just freaking out, and they're kind of laughing. No business owner, like you said, has gone through this process. If it's the first time, the emotional roller coaster of two things. Three. One, you got to keep running your business while you're going through a transaction.
Kind of important.
Yeah, you have to keep maintaining your goals and objectives and your metrics, because as soon as there's a dip, I mean, the buyers know there's a dip because you're working 24/7 trying to get the deal through the process, right? Oh, but we're not doing as well now. So we really got to kind of discount it by, $500,000, because they'll use that, right?
Oh, for sure.
How valuations run.
Yeah.
The other thing is, take a founder, right? So they started this business in 87. They're looking to sell it now. And I don't care what they say, it's going to be part of your psyche and who you are, right?
Yeah.
A lot of your friends you got in the business community know you as the owner. And even though they may intuitively know they're selling the company, like, it hasn't registered. I explain it this way. Find out my wife's pregnant, first kid, right? And so as the dad, like, okay, I'm going to be a dad, blah, blah, blah. But it hasn't really kicked in.
No, you have no earthly idea what's about to happen.
Yeah. So this is in the 90s, and she was back in 97 timeframe or so, 98. And they wanted to be, hey, we want you to jump on the SAP consulting firm. So SAP, Oracle, these big giant accounting packages, which is awesome. Jump onto that team and get involved and get all this SAP experience. Well, we always had like mentors in the business, the way it was set up at EY. And he says, Conwell, get in here. He sets me down. He goes, you're going to jump on this SAP team and you're going to travel 24/7. He goes, you will never see your kid. You're fixing to be a freaking dad in like 6 weeks. And that's when it hit.
Yeah.
And I think it's the same thing with the business. Business owners, they intuitively know they're going through this journey, but if they haven't really thought about life after the sale, like what's what's pushing them out of the business. I'm going to travel. I've got these hobbies. I've got another company I'm going to do. I'm going to mentor, my kids or other business owners, or, work on charitable things that I haven't done in a long time. What'll happen is they'll sell the company, and then they have this big emptiness inside them, right?
Yep.
This almost can some get like depressed,
Oh yeah.
And so, yeah, that emotional journey, and that's the other thing. It is like no other. We kind of laugh that it isn't considered. My partner says this. It's not a real deal, and until at least 2 or 3 times, it's completely shut down.
Yeah.
He goes, and we know, all right, it'll come back on the bus, and yeah.
And you're not exaggerating.
No, not at all.
I mean, not at all. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a miracle any of these deals get done, really, because
Yep.
they all almost die at least a couple of times.
Yep, because it's time kills deals.
Oh yeah.
It's like you have, we got 3 months of exclusivity while we're evaluating the deal. But when you start getting close to the end of that, why haven't we gotten this done? Seller's going, this is ridiculous. I mean, we've given you everything. Why aren't you getting this over the finish line? Buyer's going, why aren't you answering my questions? I'm asking this. This shouldn't be that hard. And then you have other advisors that get in the mix that they're squawking, and they may have their own agendas.
Sure.
And so that time and people kill deals. It is so true. And so getting to that finish line and getting it over the hump, man, it's a big deal.
It just takes a lot of work.
It takes a lot of
Gotta
work
be
and
very, very
effort.
motivated.
Yep.
And, that means that you got to be really excited about, like your analogy, being a dad.
Uh-huh.
I mean, it's got to be something that you're like really wanting to do.
Yep. Yep. Super.
And if not, then it'll die. I mean, you can't go into this just kind of halfway.
Now you got to be all in and incredibly excited about this opportunity after the sale, right? Creating this legacy for that buyer, inspiring them, or they're going to take your baby to this next level. You know?
Yeah.
Now you may be part of that. Sometimes, you roll over equity, help them run this. They buy a bunch of companies, and then you get like the second bite of the apple.
Yeah.
They sell it again. And that's how people get really wealthy. They may do it 2 or 3 times. Other times, you sell the whole thing. You've got a consulting agreement for 6 months or a year, maybe part-time a couple of years after that. But you've sold everything at that point, and usually after a year, we're good, But what gets tough is when, there's a divorce situation, you got to sell like right now. Maybe like you're sick, family member is sick, brutal situation, partner dispute that kicks in, and you've got to sell right then. And sometimes it's like, oh my gosh, had they sold 2 years ago, they'd be worth double what they are now. Because, revenue is here, now it dipped here, now it dipped here. Now we have to sell, and net profits have dropped a ton. And guess what? Now you're not really in this great position because you want to be, rise, man. You're growing.
Yeah.
Net profits are going to the bottom line. Like, we are awesome. We are ready to scale, take this thing to the next level. And so, they may be sellable, but now you've lost a multiple or two, which is horrible because now you've lost the starting value times the multiple, and it could be several $1 million if you are sellable at all at that point.
So what you're talking about really is, not planning ahead.
Yep.
I mean, and that certainly is an Achilles heel for certainly a lot of founder owners. Is to wait too long before they get ready to say, okay, now maybe I want to sell now. Yeah. It's, health has deteriorated, or some type of event has happened. And by that point, it's really too late to get, true full value.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I don't know, man, it's really, really hard to get folks, founder owners to recognize how much time it can really take to plan out a transaction properly prior to one of these, events kind of taking you out. Because eventually, you don't know. You just don't know. Yeah.
Yeah. And time allows you to adjust, right?
Time allows you to be able to ride the cycles if you need to.
Ride the cycles, because we never know.
Yeah.
One of us could walk out of here and, God forbid, you get hit by a car.
Right.
And you're incapacitated.
Right.
your operating agreement isn't set up the right way. And now
Right.
you've got this huge issue with the spouse that gets all the shares and you didn't structure it the right way. And now they've got say in the business and you don't want them to have say in the business. You're not in a position to go buy it back or pay it back yet. Now a huge dispute happens and now we have to sell. And those are the worst positions because you're not a good seller at that point. Like you're just
No.
ticked. Or the other worst situation is I'm just sick of running this company. I'm
Yeah, you
sick
get
of my
burned out.
employees.
You
I'm
get burned out. Yeah.
And so here you are trying to put your best foot forward about how great the company is, but you don't like the company. So why would the buyer like it? So in those situations, we have to really re-engineer, re-energize the seller.
Yeah.
Look, man, you've
like, let's
built
go.
a great thing. This is exciting. It's a tremendous opportunity. Yep, I know it's stressful. We're going to be here hand in hand through the whole process. I always laugh. It's like exit psychologist. Even earlier, just building projections to get that entrepreneurial spirit to kick in. Of wait, so we could do this? Like it could be, and as they're learning and getting them excited about this process because they have to do it. Ultimately, they have to make the decision. They have to drive that ship. It's crazy. It's a tremendous process. People that go through it, like it is, it's amazing. To achieve that American dream, to be able to, man, you've done it, and it's can be incredibly lucrative, right? Multi-generational wealth. The legacy, multiple generations of your family set up. The cool things you can do, but it's not easy. And
it's not easy. And I feel like when you were talking about, making sure your operating agreement is correct and all that, you were basically getting back. You're just talking about dotting your I's and crossing your T's. Just like you were when you're talking about getting your financials squared. Just keep going through your business with a fine-tooth comb, right?
Yep.
And just make sure that everything is up to snuff all the time, right?
Yeah.
Not just because you feel like you're burned out and you want to sell next year, even if you don't ever think you're going to sell, or if you think it's 10 years out, it's never too early to really start trying to, make sure your procedures are solid, make sure that your accounting is good, make sure all of your agreements are solid. We had a client that sold last year, and like you said, we sell somebody a lot bigger, right? And so these guys have lawyers and all that, and they start looking through everything. So what are they looking through? They're looking through all of your agreements with your customers, your customer agreements, and they found one for their second largest customer that had a trigger in it that said, hey, if you sell, this agreement is no longer void.
Correct.
And to make it even more interesting, if you do the background on it, this particular customer put that provision in there because they had previously done business with the people that were buying my client and had not liked. So you had to put your sales hat on, go out there. So you got to read those customer agreements. You have to just really to do this at a higher and higher level. You just got to really dot your I's and cross your T's.
Yeah,
it's not fun. But
the contract negotiation of getting those clauses that they're transferable and making sure it's in there, because buyer's not going to want to go in and with your agreements go and renegotiate all these contracts, because that's the perfect time for your customers to go, we're thinking about this, and we'll stretch the terms out. It's a hassle.
When you're running 100 miles an hour in a business and you just got like this great customer, you're not reading that thing to the same level that, a $2 billion company
Correct.
is. And the thing is that, yes, that's true, but yet at the same time, we should all be striving to be a little bit more detail oriented in the management of our businesses.
Yeah, and it's just doing it earlier and having these conversations that these are things that are going to be important downstream. It's kind of like, hey, when should I get my company built to sell? Every morning.
Absolutely.
Yeah. What is your exit strategy? Well, we're going to keep the business forever.
Well, because the reality is if your business is very, very viable has a good value to it for somebody else, guess who else it's probably valuable to? You.
Right.
You're just doing the stuff that just makes it a better business all the way around.
Yeah, it's interesting. People go through a process, this whole deal process, and they go, man, I should have been running my company this way the whole time, or they go with the deal and it's like, oh, this is how we should have been running it,
Yeah.
Yeah, none of it like sounds like rocket science, but there's just very few that really sell for maximum value. And all these things we've been talking about are things that affect their sellability, their market attractiveness, right? To just attract multiple buyers being interested in them. And then just that exit readiness translates to deal value, And when you run this way, that timing, that financial performance that's moving, you've got all your ducks in a row. You thought about how a buyer is going to look at your company and put things in place to maximize that, then the transactions go much smoother because you're in a defendable position, right?
Yeah.
And you've got options. I like that part of that deal. I like this here. Let's get that negotiated together. How's that going to work? And it's just a much better process. But if you have to sell and you don't have this stuff, one, you may not be sellable, or two, you may get through the process, but it's going to be really painful, and it's going to be for a lot less than you thought.
Yeah, it's going to get retraded for sure.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, this has been good, Steve. Tell me, so you're service industry just like me. So tell me kind of what's your, and we're kind of the same age too. Kind of what's your thoughts on like your transition type stuff? Have you thought about kind of what you're doing in your business, and is it different or similar to kind of what you do with your clients?
I think internally, business operating system that we use, we've got senior controller that does, all the accounting, all the month-end close. We've got, financial management review meetings that we have every month. Just to operate it. It's kind of like what you don't want to do is be the mechanic, and the worst car in the lot is your car, right?
Well, yeah.
So we have to operate the way that we tell our clients to operate.
Yeah, but what about what does transition look like for you?
Oh, that's a good question. It's interesting, right? We're young, strapping lads.
Right.
Whatever. I kind of peer into the future, 5 years out to say, hey, not that I'm going to drop off the ledge, but if I wanted to retire, I could. But I know my personality, and I like helping business owners and people, so I'd always end up doing that. You mentioned I do a lot of stuff with UNT, but just in charity as well. It's just fun to get involved and to help. I'd say I'd pick up my golf game, but just got to find the time, which I would have then. So I can shoot the way you shoot, right?
Oh, yeah. You want to shoot for something lower than that for sure. But that's interesting because so when you find something, I guess you could say from a consulting standpoint, kind of operate similarly.
Yep.
I see it the same way for myself. It's like I kind of like what I do. I kind of like my day, and I enjoy my clients, and I enjoy my processes and stuff. Well, I should. I designed all of them, right? Same for you.
Yep.
And so ideally, I would just do this, and I have to always remember that about myself when I find my clients that are kind of in the same position where they've created just a really great job for themselves.
Yep.
And now I'm trying to convince them that they shouldn't do it anymore. And I think it's interesting that, I know it sounds like you're doing the same thing as I am, making sure that the business can survive without me, but that, hey, if I still want to come along for the ride, I can still be there.
Yeah. It's kind of talking a little bit about owner dependency, right? Is the business dependent on you?
Yeah.
If I look at our company, if we decide, hey, we're going to sell it, we will shift gears 100% and getting it 100% sellable.
Gotcha.
We'll go on the board. We'll hire, because like you, we love working with business owners, and we love rolling our sleeves up, and it's fun, But to make it sellable, we'd shift the model.
Yeah.
So every 5 years, every few years, we'll evaluate it and make that determination. But what can kill the value of a business is that the buyers look at it and go, well, without you, there isn't much of a business.
Mm-hmm.
You know all your customers, they want to deal with you, you've got key employee problems and all that. And, we want to make sure that that's one of the things we didn't really talk about, to unpack that, not have huge dependency on a key employee, on a key customer or supplier, but that the owner is free from the business. So like when I was a kid, like these guys that own many companies, like, well, how do they know all this stuff about all these companies as I was a kid? Well, later they don't.
No.
What they're great at, they'll go buy X, put a tremendous team on it, and they may meet with them twice a month for like an hour,
Yeah.
And they provide the vision and they drive the ship, and I'm on to my next one and my next one, and they're gazillionaires. But that's what they're great at. They don't get mired in the business. Richard Branson is not in, Virgin Airlines in there in the weeds doing that at all. He's got a whole crew that does it. And that's where that creates tremendous enterprise value. It's just hard because business owners, I started it because I was the expert.
Yeah.
But to create a really valuable business, if I was on Saturn for 7 months and had no access to anything because aliens took me up there, but would your business grow during that time? Most of them would start to have big problems. The great ones just keep on plugging,
Yeah, I think that's interesting. And then I look back at kind of what you and I do because we love it, so we stay in it.
Yep.
Which I think probably, at least in my situation, we talked about this on a previous pod, probably limits my scale a little bit. So you have to make some of these decisions as you go along.
Yeah.
And it's not always a decision, hey, to try to, increase for the greatest value per se.
Right.
You've got to find what's right for you. Anyway, I always try to put myself back in their shoes when I see a business owner who just loves what they're doing and they do it because they love it. And then I'm saying, yeah, but you're older than I am, and that could be a problem.
Right. Right.
This stuff is hard. It's just hard.
It is. It'd be nice if there was just simple and easy. But that's what from great risk comes great reward, right?
Yeah.
It's just that we talked about this deal making process being hard. You don't want great risk to not be rewarded because as an owner you didn't know that this is what you needed to do to really capture that reward.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. Awesome. Well, it's been great having you on today.
Yeah, it's been awesome. Thanks a ton.
Steve, if somebody wants to get in touch with you, I will put this in the show notes. If you'll just tell us what the best way to contact you is. Somebody from the show might want to visit with you further about what you're doing and maybe pick your brain. What's a good contact?
Yeah,
way?
so LinkedIn, obviously, Steve Conwell. I'll pull up. I'm really active on LinkedIn. My email address, so sconwell, CON as in Nancy, WELL at finalascent.com. And I'd love to just visit. If anything, look, it's not, hey, I want to go visit so I can go bring you on as a client. Let's visit and talk because there's going to be things that we visit about, just like when you talk to your clients, it will help. It will 100% help and at least open the eyes to, okay, here's some things that I maybe hadn't considered before, because by golly, it's tough being a business owner. And so we want to help them. That's why we do it. It's why we love it. And love them to reach out.
Okay. Well, thanks, Steve. So folks, reach out to Steve if you have any questions or just want to engage in a conversation. As a reminder, we put this out every 2 weeks. And we're always looking for, really good people within the space, either experts like Steve and or business owners who kind of want to tell a story and help all of us learn more about this incredible, fun journey of being a business owner. Thank you very much for being with us today. Everybody, have a great week. Take care.